Guys, welcome back to another episode of Down Under. It's going to be a really great show this week, and as always, we bring the brother Brody. How you doing, brother? After an amazing win over the weekend, holding teams to 0 2 weeks in a row, you got to be loving that.
Yeah, brother, definitely. Kind of not complaining about another flawless performance against a team with Latrell Mitchell, Cody Walker in it. It's pretty amazing to hold those guys to 0. You're probably going to score more points than them because they can't defend for shit. But yeah, to hold them to 0 as well is pretty outstanding.
100%, brother, 100%. And we will get to that very shortly, guys. As I did touch on Wise Up TV the other night, guys. If you're only just tuning in now, we will be doing our Supercoach show at the end of this show because of, Brody, you want to tell them?
We are going to watch the Doggies win tomorrow night at Suncorp.
So Ashley's going to become a Doggies fan for the night next to Brody. I'm hearing a Doggies scarf might be coming my way. I'm going to support the Doggies in a major win over the Broncos, right?
He's going to be decked out in all the Doggies gear. I'll make sure I get a photo for you guys.
Don't worry, I'll still be screaming out up the wires as always, though, guys. But yes, we're doing our Supercoach show straight away. It's going to be all matched in with this show, guys. So we'll start off with a little Down Unders, all our rundown, and then we'll finish off on Supercoach so you guys can get all your Supercoach knowledge for the weekend coming up. I think it's the best way to do it anyway, coming into this week, because there's not too many big talking points, but definitely a lot of little trade options you'll be going to. But thank you, as always, to our chat jumping in. Jose jumping in really early. We're giving our try a week. Bro, he's loving it. He's got his try of the week, things that he's got here, a couple of big ones there. And then obviously Tarns jumping in the chat. What's going on, Tarns? As always, what we got here? Ash, Jose, most I'll accept is you holding the flag. No clothes. No clothes.
Yeah, we're going to arrange no clothes, just some body paint.
And Tarns say a wash sign, to put a wash sign up. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened with the message getting retracted there. I don't know what YouTube's doing, but what's going on, Chris? Thank you for coming through as always, my brother. And we may as well touch on the biggest upset of the weekend to start off the weekend review, brother. The Dolphins getting a major win over the Melbourne Storm, 42-22, bro. At one point here, it was 16-2, thinking that Melbourne were going to legit do what they were going to do week in, week out, what they've done to us, Manly. But the Dolphins, bro, like 40 points unanswered. In this game. Incredible victory from the Dolphins, bro. Your thoughts on this performance and your thoughts on our boy Joshy Kerr standing up in that performance as well?
Yeah, big 100th game from Joshy Kerr. He's starting to really love that ball over the top of that defender and then looking for that offload. Like, why not when you're that bloody tall? I would be as well. But yeah, killer performance there from Josh Kerr and the Dolphins as a whole. Yeah, they easily could have went into their shells and said the game's over the way that Melbourne were going, but they really stuck to it and turned it around, which was a big shock to everybody. And I know Bellamy wasn't happy, but I mean, when you're the Melbourne Storm, all you've got to do is make the 8 to be a top team and a chance in the finals, because it comes different come finals time. But makes me feel really good as well that Doggies is the only consistent team at the moment to not drop a game and to not lose to somebody that they shouldn't lose to. So feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And this might be the real good kick up in the arse. Obviously, our teams do not want to see it for the Melbourne Storm get a kick up in the arse now. They had been leaking points during multiple occasions this season. We do remember the Penrith game this season where Nathan Cleary went down and they leaked a lot of points in that sort of aspect. So 42 points getting put on them. I'm sure that, Craig Bellamy is going to go back to the drawing board defensively, really work on those edges, and it just makes the Melbourne Storm a little bit better for mid to late this season, because we all still agree they're probably still the premiership favourites overall, even though the Doggies, and we'll touch on the Doggies very shortly, how they're standing up and everyone's really looking at them now as the big premiership threat this year. But I want to, go back to also touching on the Dolphins a little bit. Players like, we will touch on the team of the weeks at the end of this too. But Isaiah Katoa, the performance that he had in this game, a real, this season has actually been a real breakout season for him, I believe. Like, he's had good moments in the past, but after that Tonga Pacific Championship little moment that he had at the end of last year, jumping into this year, I don't think he's really put a foot wrong. From memory this year, he had a really good performance, even in losing performances against the Newcastle Knights. In my I reckon his running game's really improves, and he had some really big moments in that game. That short ball he gave to Lemuelu to put him over, like some beautiful clinical moments from the young halfback.
Yeah, he's just developing and maturing, and you're seeing that week in, week out. It's good that he's stuck with Redcliffe. You know, there was a bit of talks that he might have left at the end of last year. But you know, he started really well last season, and then kind of just dropped off a little bit. You know, towards that back end of the season. So let's hope that he can keep that style that he's playing going all season and carry the Dolphins into the finals. But with that said, to answer your question, Jose, I still do have the Dolphins not making my 8.
Yeah.
And you know, they're going to have these good performances, but the consistency just isn't quite there. So I could be wrong, 100%. Looks like they could beat anybody on their day. They've got enough attacking flair, but yeah, I just think there's a couple other teams that have that bit more consistency, especially towards the back end of the season when it does count.
And really, like, by this season, just judging on the start of the season, you can't really say people are wrong or right with a lot of these, like, you know, decisions of holding people out of the 8, because I feel like every team has the opportunity to become a top 8 team or be falling out of top 8 at the moment. We will touch on the Parramatta Eels a little bit later on as well. But, you know, the Dolphins, you know, after starting the season, where I think we had the question either last week or the week before of whether, you know, who's the worst team in the competition right now, who's probably going to take over your wooden spooners. And I think the Dolphins got thrown around a couple of times there. And within 2 weeks, they're gone bang, bang against Penrith and the Melbourne Storm. And now a lot of people, as you know, Jose obviously bringing up in the chat, are they top 8 ability now? It's like, that's how quickly this competition has changed. You know, Newcastle started off the season as like, oh, maybe they're okay. Like, you know, they're not as bad as we think they are. And now we're looking at them going, oh, I don't know about them, right? Like, it's just, it changes everywhere.
No, that's 100% right, brother. You need to just show up on your day, and that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you know, look at your guys' turnaround from last week's performance against Melbourne to then beating the Broncos, and then also Melbourne turning around and getting flogged by the Dolphins. So, like, it just depends on how you show up, unfortunately.
And the last thing on Melbourne before we jump off, does this show kind of like little things? I don't want to really put it down as like one player changes the Melbourne Storm, because they had this discussion on Jerome Hughes. If Jerome Hughes is out of that lineup, how Melbourne look. But I do think that without Harry Grant in number 9 for the Melbourne Storm, they don't have the same ability of the way they shift, you know, side to side with their, you know, set up their players. They haven't got that real big, long ball that comes out of the dummy half and really, you know, catches, you know, the C defender and all that, just to like, what's going on here? This ball shouldn't be on this position. Do you reckon that he was a major miss in this game for Melbourne in that sort of sense? Or, you know, you're just putting it down to just Melbourne being real flat and the Dolphins just catching him lapping in those moments?
Well, the things you touched on there about Harry Grant are all attack-wise, and Melbourne's attack started without missing a beat. It was their defense that really let them down. With that said, Harry Grant is important to their defense. I guarantee he's out there chatting through the middle the whole time, but 40 points, I don't think Harry Grant was making much of a difference on the weekend. I think Melbourne just really hit a flat point. Bellamy's going to have to strip back their egos a little bit. I think they're getting a bit big heads. You know, they're probably seeing that the Penrith Panthers have dropped off a little bit. The Broncos aren't going too well, and they're sitting there going, oh, the competition's ours. But it's also theirs to lose at this point if everyone's got them as favourites, because it's all about how you show up. It really is.
And you're talking about the competition as ours, but let's move over to your Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, not only breaking records on the field, but breaking records off the field as well. You know, the amazing attendance that you guys set at the core stadium, where, you know, the big discussion was, it was legit playing like Guess Who? Like, where was the Rabbitohs fans out there? Usually they've got not the kennel, what do you call it? The burrow. The burrow was nowhere to be seen. It was all just Doggies fans out there. Incredible little turnout there, and an incredible performance from your Dogs, 32-0 against the Rabbitohs, as you said to start the show, with Latrell, with Cody Walker, with incredible talent left, right, and center. And your Doggies just continue to show in, week out, and just so good to see. And I know that coming into this matchup against the Broncos this weekend, you're kind of like, oh, you know, depending on how we turn out, and, you know, you kind of also double back on it and said, but you know what? Like, this season, like, if there's any team that you know is going to turn up to each and every game, it's going to be the Bulldogs.
100%. It's just good the way that they get the community involved. You've seen them do the walk from their hotel as well to the stadium. So just including the fans in that regard, it's just outstanding. It gives, obviously, the boys a big boost. And yeah, just to put on that type of performance, I think I seen a stat that over the Easter weekend, there was like 218,000 fans that attended games. And 65,000 of them were just at the Doggers game alone. The rest of the games didn't even like get half of that. There was like 28,000 and stuff like that. So, yeah, absolutely outstanding. And what could you say? What better club to be a part of? You know, everyone has their opinions on Phil Gould, but he can do some great things for a club, and look what he's done. He's brought the community back involved into the Doggies, and now they're playing good footy to repay the fans for it. So outstanding.
100%, bro. And in these performances, there's not just one sole performer that you can kind of hang your hat on and say, you know, that he was the difference in this game. I think you just like, you can hang your hat on pretty much the whole team. And as I continue to say, we will touch on our teams for the weeks, but, you know, performances like Max King, you know, who's week in, week out, it's just like turning up for the Doggies, and he's kind of like a forgotten soul for a lot of people when they have like some of the best front row discussions, right? You know, Josh Curran, you know, the way he turns in, week out for your Doggies side, that, you know, we know as Warriors fan what he was like with us as well. And he just continues to turn in performance after performance. Jacob Cresson, he's probably on the cusp of maybe an Origin call up for being around the group, maybe not getting into the team, but like overall, but maybe taking a camp. Who knows? You know, Jacob Carraz coming back of injury, incredible performances. So, like, I don't really see a flat spot just yet overall. You know, the only worry that we would be saying was probably your attack at times is, you know, not really finding it. But 32 points against the Rabbitohs, it's like your defense is going to take up all that opportunity, and you're just going to continue to attack a line, and you're going to find points, you know, one after the other. It's going to continue to come, and 32-0. You can't really discuss anything about this side about the moment. Say, I really don't see it just yet. Like, I think everyone's starting to see it now.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just the system taking place. That's all it is. So, yeah, it's really good. The boys got it together. And let's just hope we can continue at least this weekend for us, because I don't want to go to a losing game. So, it sounds like we have a bit of a salty commenter in the chat as well. Canterbury Panthers. All right. Right.
That's pretty much the whole competition right now, bro. As soon as you get to at the top of the comp, everyone wants to find a way to bring you all the way down. It's that tall poppy syndrome, the way it goes.
Is he a wild supporter by any chance?
I have no clue. Shout out to old Chris A. He probably is. And don't hurt him, but hurting me, mate. I'm going to catch second-hand smoke.
I wasn't going to. I was just going to say, if he's a wild supporter, well, you guys have stolen for the Panthers just as much in Webster. So,
we all know he's an Eels fan. Oh, that explains it.
That explains it. Doesn't get any from the misses, so he comes here to try and score.
He's loving it. And that's a swing and a strike. Was it also, I want to touch on the news going around the Doggies at the moment. Toby Sexton looking to extend at the club right now. It's looking at apparently a multi-year $1 million deal. So whether that's going to be a $500K upgrade or whatever over a couple of years, I'm not too sure the overall pricing that's coming out. But your thoughts on Toby Sexton maybe re-signing with the Dogs, continuing for the future, and maybe jumping out of the race for, as we said before, Lockie Galvin, which we weren't really keen on, or a DCE. Now you've pretty much locked into the development of what you've got going on, which is a good sign.
Yeah, well, they started the negotiations as soon as we pulled out of the DCE race, which I was pretty happy about. I was okay with. I didn't really want to buy into DCE. I'd rather just kind of developing what we got there at the moment. So DC pulling out of that race was good news. And then they obviously halted their conversations with Sexton as soon as Galvin came onto the market. And then it was the Raiders, Manly and Cowboys that also started to look into Sexton. So now that they've said no to Galvin, they've gone back on to talking to Sexton, which I'm happy with. You know, give Mitch Woods plenty of time to develop a bit more in New South Wales Cup there, just to really make sure that he is ready to take over from Sexton, and then we can move Sexton on his way and let Mitch Woods take over there. But yeah, happy with that. I think Sexton's been doing a good job. You can see that he's developing with our system as well, and he's gotten a little combination going there with Marnie and Burton.
Yeah, 100%. So well done to him. I'm really happy with that signing overall. As I continue to say, I think he's still got a lot of potential in that halfback jersey. But your future definitely lies with the kids that you got underneath, right? Mitchell Woods and stuff like that. I think this is the best way to kind of usher those kids in when they do become time. When you do look at DC and that, maybe you're kind of like pushing that back just a tad. With Toby Sexton, there will come a point where you're going to have that real nice handover with Mitchell Woods if he is going to be the guy to take over. But you got a lot of really good young junior halfbacks coming through. Alex Conti is a really nice one that is playing at the moment in your flag side. So very, very talented. I'm pretty sure he's an SG halfback as well. So very, very happy to see the Doggies up there and going well, bro. And it's so good. I cannot wait to see them going against the Broncos this week, because I know Broncos fans will turn out, but I know for a fact Doggies fans are going to turn out as well. So that Suncorp Stadium is going to be fucking humming this weekend.
I think so, brother. I'm just hoping that the weather stays away. It's supposed to be some wet weather here tomorrow in Brizzy, so hopefully that is after the game.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. Moving over to Luke Metcalf calls game on the Broncos. Finally, after the got 1 and 4 out of his conversions and 1 of 2 in his penalties conversions. So, but he calls game at the end of the game, and that's all we care about. 20-18, the Warriors getting it done over the Brisbane Broncos over at Auckland, bro. Your thoughts overall in this game? Players like Leka Lasima, continuing his step up to the moment, step up to the plate, having an incredible performance in this game, and Luke Metcalf, getting it done where he needs to get done. Obviously, it did give me a little bit of a heart attack. We should have been probably a little bit further out.
But to Chanel last year.
Oh, bro, it really was. And I know a lot of Warriors fans are a little bit worried about that, but I do think Luke Metcalf's a little bit better of a goal kicker than that. Like, people got to understand, cyclonic conditions, like the wind just didn't favor anything. You have against an Adam Reynolds that just fucking 3 out of 3 is kind of hard to argue that point, but Adam Reynolds is a fucking beast, so.
Yeah, look, he's been a long-term goal kicker in the NRL for a lot longer than Luke Metcalf, probably for longer than he's been born, to be honest. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah, no, as you touched on, your juniors are starting to come through well, like Leka. Really outstanding performance. Kurt Catewell showed that he's still not too old to play in that center role, turn back the clock there. So, outstanding performance, gritty performance. The Broncos are getting desperate for a win and to just shut them out again in front of your home crowd in windy conditions like that. Normally when you got experienced halves of Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds, you think that they'll just kick you to death and really be able to cherish those conditions to get their team home, especially on the back of their forward pack, man, with you guys missing some big guns. It's just a real A+ to your guys' effort and mentality to get that job done. It's not about winning by a mile, man. It's just getting the job done.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of growth in this performance overall. As you did touch on, we were missing a lot of really key members of our side, just touching on the few of JFH, CNK, RTS, Dallin Watson-Zelezniak, who we haven't had for pretty much this whole season since trials. But touching on the Broncos a little bit, falling back into old habits, I would probably say more so than not. Even under Madge, they're still falling into the habit of just going too sideways in moments or trying to push the pass. Benny Hunt's really not settled at the moment, which I think a lot of Broncos fans were calling out that he's going to be incredible to start the year with the first performance over the Roosters. That has changed so quickly. I continue to touch on how quickly, opinions change in rugby league. But Benny Hunt at the moment, throwing his hands up in a couple of moments, just didn't look like he was in the contest. And, Madge moving into that hooker role at the end of the game there. Your thoughts on the Broncos and their problems that they're going through right now? Is it a long-term problem or can it be a short-term fix coming up against, your doggies or in the future?
It's hard to say, brother, because like on paper, you look at that Broncos side and you think you should be up there. So yeah. It really is a mentality thing. And I really think it is an ego thing. And I think Madge is learning that he's got to strip that back, especially from guys like Walshy. And I think they are struggling playing 2-7s that are really ball dominant. It's a bit like the Sharks, but just a bit worse off at the moment. So I don't know. I don't know what the problem is there with the Broncos other than just a mentality thing. But whatever it is, I hope it continues this week. And they keep going on the slide. So
the one thing I would say, though, is they've still got, like, as you continue to touch on, incredible talent for their roster. Like, Payne Haas, Paddy Carrigan in a beaten side over the weekend. Like, the numbers they put up, like, in wet weather footy, it's just incredible. If they can figure out a way, I continue to say it week in, week out, if they can find a way to play off the back of those boys just a little bit better, like, they've got all the building blocks to be an incredible side, as we continue to say. And I think that's where Madge has really got to step in and kind of make these big judgments or what he thinks where Benny Hunt's best position is or whatever they move on with. But, the Broncos, if they don't figure it out now or just figure out just to play that wrestle type of football, which is for some reason they seem to shy away from. You touched on it when we're messaging back and forth with the Broncos game. Obviously when we got out to 18-6 lead, it did look like they just didn't want to become in the arm wrestle. But as soon as they got that little bit of a sniff, that they stepped up to the plate for that little moment of 10 minutes of football. But as soon as it got messy again, they do fall into this little hole of like, we don't really want to play messy football. We want to go sideways and play through both our halfbacks. So they've got to get out of that little cycle they're in right now.
I think what they are struggling with is with the half that plays on the front foot. I think Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds are so structured now to the point where they're kind of just going through the motions, whereas they don't have a Cam Munster playing eyes up. You know, a Cam Munster on the back of that forward pack would be so dangerous. And I think that's maybe what they are lacking right now. So there's no like just playing off the front of a quick play the ball from like a Payne Haas or a Paddy Carrigan and just going and taking guys to the line with you. It's so maybe set shape, and that's why they are going sideward. So I think maybe that's where they're lacking a little bit, but I think you hit the nail on the head, brother. I think you hit the nail
100%. Play all the back of Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan and just ride the coattails of Paddy Carrigan's glorious locks. I reckon that's the best way you're going to get a lot of success with the Broncos. But lastly, just going back to the New Zealand Warriors, bro, you know, as you touched on, Kurt Capewell, a really good performance in the center position that a lot of people are looking at going, ooh, that is where the Broncos are going to real eat in this game. Again, I don't want to do that long term, right? But great performance from him, experienced performers. But it really come down to a lot of our young kids stepping up in those moments. And it's been mentioned many times from Mitch Barnett that the young kids are really starting to show the way for some of the older boys at the moment. And the older boys need to get to their standard now. But it's so good to see, like, you know, as I continue to go back on, Lek Alasima, that footwork, that speed, you know, when he came off that right foot, cut in between Ricky and Reynolds. Like, I just cannot wait to see that more development over time. I think he goes back to the bench this week, but, you know, he will get that starting role at some point, and I think when he gets it, it's gonna be hard to take it off him.
100%, brother. I think he is well overdue for it, and he's really putting his name up in lights now.
Yeah, 100%. And also, just quickly want to touch on CNK signs a 2-year deal. No prices really came out for me just yet before I jumped online to see how much we paid for him overall. I haven't heard any rumors on that either. But your thoughts on that signing before we move off this game?
Yeah, very underrated, brother. I think CNK is so underrated. I think he's a very consistent fullback. You know what you're going to get, your standard run meters out of your back end, and pretty safe under that high ball. And I don't know, especially while there's not much else going on there at the Wars, and you're just trying to stable your team with who you've lost over last year, this year to retirement, injury, and all the rest. I think it's a really smart move to keep that leadership part of the club for that 2 more years to really develop some more juniors through, or see what comes available on the market. That 2 years might take you on to like someone like Kalen Ponga coming off contract now, and maybe that's what you're trying to line up, is keeping CNK until then.
Yeah, definitely a big possibility. What do you think, like, just quickly, because this is a question that a lot of Warriors fans will be touching on, and being a guy that watches all rugby league in general, what do you think this means for Taine Tuapiki? Does Taine lose that, like, opportunity at that fullback, or do you think Taine has the ability to take it off CNK in the future, CNK moving positions? Like, what do you think of Taine, like, in this whole position of, like, CNK getting 2 more years?
Well, the way that CNK plays, so he goes hard out, right? So he misses a few games a year. I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Taine to get his chance to show that ability. I think towards the back end of this year, more so next year, you'll probably start seeing him slide it off the wing to play fullback for a bit and pushing CNK to the wing, and you'll start seeing him play that roaming fullback role. And if he plays as good as we know Taine can play, well, Jai Gray took it off Latrell Mitchell, so what's stopping Taine Tuapiki taking it off CNK? So the ball will be in his court, but yeah, it might stunt his development a little bit, but plenty of time, brother. Plenty of time. And it looks like you guys are going to give him that wing spot anyway until he does find his role in that fullback role.
100%. And with Taine as well, guys, before I jump off, because you kind of know my position on Taine. I think he's an incredible player. I think he's got the potential to be our future fullback for sure, if we don't go down the big fullback route, which has been heavily rumored and stuff like that, right? I think that this only builds more competitiveness within our squad. From all I hear, Taine loves being around the squad in general. He loves CNK. I'm sure that this is not going to push him out of the club at all. I don't know too many other clubs. Like, fullbacks are going left, right, and center around the whole league. So I don't think there's a lot of people are going to be like, we're going to lose Taine. We're going to lose Taine. It's like, no, I think Taine's going to be real competitive in this, and he's going to really try to prove in every opportunity he can that he can be the fullback. And I think at one point he will take over if we don't go the big route. And I think that people should get excited for that. And also, you know, I think Taine knows the whole situation that's going on now. He's just getting touches of first grade. He's continued to develop. He's an incredible fullback for the future. Right now, I think CNK is the more sturdy fullback for us right now while we're building. But Taine will take it. And when he takes it, he'll take it with 2 hands. So I wouldn't be worried about Taine leaving the club just due to the signing overall.
No, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of fullbacks floating around, and there's a lot of fullbacks that are biting their time on the wing. So it's just a luxury to have fullbacks at the moment. The best thing they should probably start doing is trying to play half, because we're not got too many of those.
100%. I think Tane's got an ability too, so we'll have to wait and see how that maybe plays out in the future. But lastly, before we jump over to our team of the week and our players of the week, the return of Mitchell Moses, brother. How much of a difference does this man change that Parramatta Eels side? You know, just seeing that one performance, how much confidence he builds into everyone else around it. 38-22 over a West Tigers side that there's been a lot of media around them currently right now, a lot of excuses that could come out of that game for the West Tigers. But Parramatta, it's good to see them, you know, kick into form. 7 tries that they scored in this game. And, you know, off the back of just Mitchell Moses, bro, I really do believe he's just given so much confidence to the side.
Yeah, it's the kicking game, brother, is the difference straight away. But not only that, it's just the voice. It's the leadership that he shows. You know, you've seen when the sin bins happened, Luai kind of stood off to the side, didn't address his team, pull them together, whereas Moses got his team into a huddle. You know, really told those guys, knock that shit off. We don't need it. So, and you've seen it. You've seen the energy that the Eels played with. You know, he just lifted it up in defense and in attack. The only soft try that I think the Eels let in was the Terrell May one. Other than that, they were pretty solid in their defense as well, and him getting it done on both sides of the ball as well, Mitch Moses with that try saver. But yeah, I think he racked up 4 try assists, 40-20, 300 plus kick meters or something like that. I don't know, but
all that.
A great performance. So it does make it tough though, because you know, he's such a ball-dominant half, and so is Nathan Cleary, so I don't know how they're going to play that for Origin. I do think both of them should be there, especially over someone like Luai at the moment with the mentality that he might have in his head with what's going on with the Tigers. You know, I would definitely go with Moses and Cleary. I just don't know how they going to gel. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you there. Like, I think that seeing Moses take the mantle in Origin, you know, the ball in both hands. Like, I think Cleary can play back foot a little bit like we saw in that grand final, but Cleary's best footy at the moment is being that halfback, you know, that wants the ball in his hands more so than not as well. So one of these guys is going to have to, like, you know, kind of swallow their ego a little bit. And I think that, you know, with both of them fighting for that 7 jersey and having moments in Origin, maybe that could be a little bit of a hard to wrestle. We've seen, obviously, Mitchell Moses play 6 at the West Tigers coming up through the grade. But his best football has been played in that number 7 jersey with the ball in his hands and really controlling a side. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out for the Blues. But, you know, it's better than not having anyone, right, you know, coming into Origin as well. So
100%.
Very curious to see what Laurie Daly will do, you know, especially selecting the squad if Luai gets in or if Moses does get in. But I think at the moment, I agree with you. I think it has to be Moses and Cleary, and he's going to have to figure that out.
Well, I think Moses has got a really good running game. He's got the running game of a 6, but he's a 7. Yeah. They're both also right side, so I don't know who you upset by moving to that left side. So bit of a headache there, but I think both those two guys are the best 2 halves you can select for the Blues right now. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if Luai just gets a nod because he is a natural 6. But the way that he's playing at the moment, not the best of performances. Obviously, his defense is pretty solid for the Tigers, and he's done a lot for them, but if you're talking about 2 in form, well, you can't go past Cleary and Moses' game on the weekend.
Completely agree with you there, bro. Quick other ones I did want to just touch on while we're at it as well. The performance of Dylan Brown now that Mitchell Moses is back, kind of showing the position that Dylan Brown is in at the moment. You know, when he has a half that can set him up and put him in the right places, definitely flourished over the weekend. Supercoach wise, didn't get his biggest Supercoach score of all time, but I did think that he played a little bit better than what his Supercoach score kind of gave him. A couple of big line breaks, you know, a couple of really nice tackle break moments. The other one I really want to point out, Bailey Simonson in this game looked like he looked really good coming back off injury there, you know, put on a little bit of size. Beautiful try that Mitchell Moses set up, and then also goal kick to win it. Again, touching on Mitchell Moses, he's had his hands all over this game. But your performances other than Mitchell Moses for the Parramatta Eels, anyone stand out for you in that side?
Yeah, Iongi played really well. Adokar played really well. And just a couple of their bench forwards played really well. I can't remember their names, but it's the 2 boys that came off the bench.
We're going on.
Maybe Chris will throw them out in there. 2 young guns.
Tuivati and Luca Moretti.
Those two. Those 2 had really good stints off the bench. Yeah, and Tuolangi deserves an Academy Award, but yeah, he played really well as well.
Shout out to Tuolangi with that hip drop friggin' motion and then scoring a try off the back of that. Incredible.
2 seconds later. But
Bro,
you can't blame him. You can't blame him. The referees are going to be given penalties for that stuff. Well, you play the referees, so it's as simple as that.
Even when he scored the try, bro, he did the little hobble too to be like, hey, no, I'm still hurt, bro. I'm still hurt. But got through the rest of the game. But moving over to the West Tigers, their performance, how much do you read into the whole, like, did Lockie Galvin's media storm really play into this performance for the West Tigers? Do you give it any sort of thought in that sort of way? Obviously seeing Lockie Galvin get put back into the team this week. But your thoughts on the West Tigers' performance over the weekend? Do you think this performance was coming from them, or was it more so Lockie Galvin taken out of the side has really caused this chaos right now?
Proof's in the pudding with him coming back into the team, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess the key players tried to take a stand for the team and then didn't deliver for the team when it come to game day. So, yeah, I don't know. And to answer your question, Chris, I don't understand half the sin bins that happened anymore. I'm just glad Moses didn't get sin bin, but then you look at the Schiller one in the game before, and you know, how does Schiller get sin bin in the Sharks game? It's the exact same case. So I don't know. Anybody's guess is as good as mine, because I don't think the referees know half the time.
And shout out to, you know, going back to your game, Marcelo Montoya with a little love slap and getting sin bin for that too.
Oh, yeah, fuck. Like, I get you can't strike, but Jesus Christ, he barely touched him.
I just wanted to see your thoughts on that, because, yeah, man, there's some bad ones over the weekend, but we get it in rugby league.
It's stupid, and you're right. It should be a sin bin because you shouldn't strike, but for fuck's sake. And then Taruva sin bin as well for his shit, and then, yeah, Moretti, he didn't do anything except fucking react to Taruva. So anyway, you could go on for hours about how stupid the sin bins are. So
yeah, honestly, we could go on hours and hours, but we got more to talk about overall, bro. Let's go for our team of the week. So in that fullback jersey, who have you got there?
Fuck, give me a sec. I got to get my notes up, get out of the chat. Who you got, bro? I'm trying to find my shit.
You're right, bro. I've got Dylan Edwards. I thought Dylan Edwards, you know, with the Penrith Panthers getting their first win in a little while over the weekend, I thought he was a real strong performer in that one and just consistently worked out there. So got Dylan Edwards. But
yeah, Dylan Edwards for me as well. A couple of honourable mentions at fullback were Lehigh Hopewadi and Iongi. I didn't think of Iongi, but my other one was Will Kennedy.
Yeah. Shout out to Will Kennedy, top of the Daily M list at the moment.
Yes. 2 good weeks in a row for the young fella that the Sharks want to drop.
Love it, baby. Love it. Moving to our wingers of the week, bro. Who have you got?
I went with Greg Marju and Paul Alamonte.
Ooh, I like it. Greg the leg, you know, the amount of tackle breaks that he had over the weekend, fuck me.
Yeah, couldn't go past that.
Nah, no way, bro. I got Paul Alamonte. I agree with you on that. I went Josh Adokar. I thought that, you know, off the back of the Mitchell Moses performance, scoring a couple of tries, 3 tries in that game? 3? 2. Yeah. And he had that beautiful intercept too, which is in a key moment of that game.
When he went to fullback. Yep.
Yeah. Shout out to the Fox. Moving over to centers of the week.
I went with Herbie and Sherry.
Ooh, I love it. That's exactly my two, Herbie and Chevy. Bro, Herbie Farnworth, bro. Like performances week in, week out. We will touch on him with the Supercoach portion of the show, but your thoughts on his performance too?
Yeah, just energy. Like tackle breaks galore. I think he had like upwards of double digits as well for tackle breaks. The meters, you know, against a team like Melbourne as well. That's just shows his ability and a nice try to cap it off.
And Bronson Sherry, bro, we can honestly wax lyrical about him week in, week out, because I think he's been in my team of the week probably about 3 or 4 times this season already.
Yeah, since I traded him out on Supercoach. But yeah, look, I'm hoping that we don't get too drained for Origin, but yeah, I'm a bit worried.
You'd be right, bro. Moving over to your halves of the week, who have you got?
I went with Ethan Strange and Mitch Moses.
Ooh, I love it. I went with Cody Nikarima and Mitchell Moses. Honorable mention to Isaiah Katoa, though. I thought he was incredible. 100%. I was going to be putting him in my 6, just being like, put him in there. But
yeah, just to get him in.
Yeah, 100%. But, you know, Ethan Strange, incredible performance against the Titans over the weekend. What a crazy game that was.
Yeah, he's got such good footwork, and he really eyes up 5'8", and he's finding himself there outside Jamal Fogarty as well. And, you know, when you got Hudson Young on your edge, I kind of guess your work is pretty easy this year in the form that he's in. Just give him early ball and he'll punch that line for you. So, yeah, he's going well.
I'm sure we're going to bring up that name again later on. But, yeah, Mitchell Moses, incredible performance. We just touched on him, but Isaiah Katoa, very close one to miss out on that side as well.
100%.
Moving over to your front row pairing, bro, who we got?
I think it's a pretty easy one this week. It's Max King and Toby Couchman.
Right there with you, bro. I think there's, as you said, I think there's a layup. You know, Toby Couchman, bro. What a performance against Manly at 4 Ponds.
Yeah, dude is just, he's come out of nowhere. Like, you know, there was a bit of rumors around the Couchman boys last year and how they were supposed to be the next best thing. And they only played a few games and you didn't really get to see it. But this year, man, beast. You got a card for him now as well. Look at that. Get him signed.
Yeah.
Get him signed up, brother.
Got a numbered card for Toby Couchman, a nice Young Guns one. I got from an Elite Pack. Shout out to him. But, I got him in my back pocket there, mate. So
Magic round, get that signed, and then put it up on eBay in a couple of years when he's playing Origin.
It'd be gangster, right? It'd be gangster. Moving over to your number 9. Who's going to direct us around the park? It
was Blake Brayley for me. Really nice performance.
I'm right there with you, bro. I think that he was really, really solid against the Newcastle Knights over the weekend. But, you know, showing just more quality week in, week out, Blake Brayley.
And he got robbed another try assist there from Toby Rudolph that dropped it over the line. But he was setting his front rows up left, right, and centre. And, you know, ads cashed in. And there was another try assist.
Gafusi cashed in as well.
The other one. So, and then he tried to set Rudolph up as well. And he just didn't want to score.
Just like Newcastle just didn't want to let them all in. Fuck it, hell. Moving over to edge back rows of the week, bro. We touched on one before. I'm pretty sure it's going to go up on both our lists.
Yeah, it's Hudson Young. Yeah, pretty standard these days to put him in that number 12 jersey.
And who's your other one?
Leka Halasima for me.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the biased guy, so I went Jacob Preston. I thought out of everyone, I thought Jacob Preston had an incredible game at the weekend, but Leka Halasima, bro, fuck me. I love him to death too, right?
Yeah, he had a killer performance, and I love Jacob Preston as well, but I just see it with rosy colours that the Doggies do it as a whole squad. But he did have another killer performance, Preston. It's so hard to go past him this year for Origin.
It's good to see we can swap both those boys so we don't look like we're biased at all.
Exactly. we actually made each other's list so we could read that out.
Yeah, exactly right. And then number 13 jersey, bro. For me, this is a guy I put in, week out at the moment. He's starting to get in there more consistently. And who have you got?
I went with Sulu Tupanua. I know it's a bit different on how the Doggies bring those guys on, and they're either probably playing front or playing lock. But for me, he was playing that lock role when he came on, and his stint when he came off the bench was absolutely outstanding. So I struggled to find another 13. So I went with Sulu Tups.
Yeah, I'm loving his year now with the Doggies, and that is just showing his potential finally, you know, that he's had obviously with the Roosters early days. He's getting back to that sort of grade, so really good to see. I got Aaron Clark, again, just a guy that I can consistently put in, week out. I think he's been one of our best signings this year overall. I think he could be up there for one of the better signings for this year. So
100%.
I think he's been incredible. The other guy that Chris actually pointed out, Ray Stone. I thought that Ray Stone deserves a mention as well. Incredible performance from him, but never celebrates a try, that man. He's just a hard motherfucker.
That is a celebration.
Yeah, true.
Just stone face.
Just stone face. Stone cold. Stone cold.
Well, last time he scored a double, it was an ACL celebration or double ACL celebration.
Shout out to Chris. He knows that real well.
That's why he doesn't want to. Oh, yeah, he does. We won't talk about that game.
We won't talk about that one. But, man, he's got to be the hardest looking man in the league. He's up there with Adam Fanor-Blake. He's a hard man.
Yeah, he's scary looking, that's for sure. You would want to hate to get hit by him, eh?
Oh, fuck. Talk about hits, though, bro. Who's your hit of the week?
Oh, I had CHT on Adam Reynolds.
Yeah, that's mine.
That was a great hit. But I went with it was actually a ball carrier. The Parramatta Eels player, Tuaviti, when he had the ball and he ran over Jack Bird. And then Jack Bird was just his bitch for that next 5-10 minutes of the game. So I actually went with the ball carrier this week because Jack Bird just got flatlined onto his ass from this young rookie. And it just had to be my hit of the week.
He could have been your egg of the week, old Jack Bird, after that too, right?
Well, that's true. But I think you agree with my egg of the week.
I think we're both agreeing on the egg of the week too. But I think that was off the back of, was it that try? Was it Riley Smith's headgear came off and fucking Jack Bird was well too worried about the headgear?
He was, yeah. He grabbed the headgear and threw it, and then he scored on him as well. The same dude.
Oh, crazy. What a crazy game that was. But
it was a crazy game.
That could have been try of the week, I know. But moving to the try of the week, who we got?
Well, you spoke about him. It's Ray Stone. I love the flick pass from Cody Nikorima.
Yeah.
So, bring back shades of Benji. So I went with Ray Stone for that one.
I went a little bit different. I went with Fletcher Sharp. So off the back of Greg Marju breaking like 7 tackles and Fletcher Sharp scoring off the back of that, I wanted to give a good little shout out to that. But I knew Cody Nikorima's one was going to put it out because that flick pass, oh my God.
Yeah, it was nice. It was, shades of Benji back in the day.
Fucking oath. Player of the week, bro. Who we got?
Player of the week? For me, it was Dylan Edwards.
Oh, I love it. Shout out to Dylan Edwards, skinhead, just going out there doing his work.
Yeah, 100%. And just really silencing the doubters of why he is the New South Wales fullback. Teddy's obviously been great, but yeah, that's exactly why for me.
Definitely needed to happen. I don't think that question was going to get brought up, like, let's say after that performance, but that question could have been brought up if the Panthers continue to skid of Papenhuyzen, Teddy, those sort of names. But he's definitely step up in that game, which is great to see. I went Mitchell Moses again. I waxed lyrical about him in that game. I thought that just the difference of what Parramatta looked like before and after. I just had to go with him and that performance that he just had his hands all over that performance. So shout out to him.
Yeah, 100%, brother. Hard to go past him as well. Jose asked a question about Supercoach, but Jose, brother, we're going to do some Supercoach after this, brother. So we're doing Supercoach tonight. So ask your question again soon when we get into Supercoach. All right, brother?
Yeah, hold on to that. Chuck it back in because we will be there very, very shortly. Egg of the week, brother.
It's Walshy, brother. Game winner. Still in a Warriors jersey.
Shout out to Walshy, giving back while he can, right?
100%. He just wanted to thank you guys. That's all.
Lost the PCL, but ended up winning our game. So shout out to him. Love to see it, bro. I went RCG.
RCG. What did he do?
Talk shit, get hit. Tom Starling coming out of the line, smoking RCG, causing that knock on.
I did see that one. Yeah.
But before that, obviously getting hit with, I think it was Tarpanay's arm wrapped around, knocked him in the nose. He had bleeding out of his nose. Looked like he was steaming. He was ready to go. There was a lot of shit talk going on. And out of all players that hit him, it was Tom fucking Starling. But shout out to Tom Starling.
He got taken off straight after that as well.
Yeah, bro, 100%. And then Jay Majolov got subbed in for him and then knocked the ball on as well. So shout out to the Gold Coast Titans if Lockie's in the chat.
That's when it went just downhill for the
Titans. So my egg of the week, RCG, brother. Even though Tom Starling can do that to the best of men, brother, you can't be doing that with 2 tampons hanging out your nose.
Nah, definitely not. Or your egg of the week could be Luai, actually, saying he'd want Galvin dropped and then dishing up that performance. So,
hey. The 6 jersey curse. He went to the Tigers 6 jersey to be like, I'm going to be the man to step up. Unable to step up. But shout out to those ones. Definitely, guys, continue to put your egg of the week in the chat. Also, Jose with take a shot every time Ash says waxing lyrical. I love saying it. I don't know why.
Just rolls off the tongue nicely, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does, bro. But we may as well get through the weekend coming up. Predicting the games of the week. Starting off with the game we're going to be going to, which I'm very excited for, the Brisbane Broncos versus the Canterbury and Bankstown Bulldogs. The 7-0 Bulldogs maybe after the weekend.
Well, 7-0 already, brother.
Are we 7-0 already? All right, 8-0 after the weekend.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, 6 and a bye, but same.
Shout out to you guys. Moving into this weekend, obviously Reece Walsh will be out of this game. Selwyn Cobbo comes into that fullback jersey. Unfortunately, Jack Todd out with a fractured arm, right?
Yeah, he's had it done before as well. So 8 weeks out is a bit sad. They also think that he might be just sitting out the rest of the year just to really get that right for next season. Had the delays there already to make NRL due to it. So it's a big setback in his career, that's for sure.
And lastly, for the Brisbane Broncos, Brendan Piacorta comes onto the bench as well, bro. Your thoughts on this game? How are you going to get it done and how much?
Just got to show up, I guess. Broncos have had a short turnaround, so there's no excuses. They're missing Walsh now. They had to travel back from NZ, so it's all within our favour. Just got to show up. I think it will be a close one because the Broncos will be desperate. And on the back of the 2 halves there, I dare say that they're going to be fired up for this one. Just got to hold them early. So
100%. We're going to go, for me, I'm right on the same track. The Broncos just aren't showing it at the moment to be in a dogfight. You guys live in a dogfight. So I'm going to go doggies 1-12. I think the Broncos will make it tough because they have to turn up for this performance and they'll put a lot of energy into it. But again, I go back to, if there's any team you can trust in the competition right now, It's the Bulldogs at the moment. So I'm sure you're going to turn up and the crowd's going to go crazy. So I'm very excited to see that.
Let's hope so, brother.
Let's hope so. Moving over to the first Friday game, the Anzac Day game, guys. You got Roosters versus the Dragons at Allianz Stadium. Coming into this game, Nat Butcher out, which is really unfortunate. He's been playing really well, coming back off injury, now going out again. Hamish Stewart and Matthew Fengai both out with injury as well. Matthew obviously out for a longer period of time due to that hip drop. Toa Sipley end up getting like 4 weeks for. So
yeah,
shout out to that.
Yeah, it was a bad one.
But your thoughts on this game overall, bro? Both these teams can really pull out a performance at their day. Right now, the Dragons probably looking like more of the favourites out of this performance, but what's your thought here?
Yeah, I think Angus Crichton, they're big in for the Roosters and Billy Smith in the form that he's been in. So I am going to go with the Roosters on Anzac Day here. I'm going to go Roosters 1-12.
Yeah, I'm probably going to follow you in there too. I think that the Dragons had their big performance last week against Manly, and judging on their form at times, they're going to have a fall off at some point. I think they're 2 in a row now on the trot. This will probably be their dip off, right? And the Roosters, I think that after the performance against the Penrith Panthers, Trent Robinson will want to get the best out of them, right? And as you said, Angus Crichton back in the lineup, so massive in. So I'm going to go Roosters. I will probably follow you in with the 1-12 as well. I was kind of thinking maybe a 13 plus late, but I think the Dragons may be a bit too good for a 13 plus at the moment.
Yeah, plenty of emotion in this one. Should be a close contest.
100%. Moving over to our game on Anzac Day, we got New Zealand Warriors versus the Newcastle Knights at Christchurch. Obviously, the Warriors' Anzac Day form has not been amazing, but we're hoping to change it with this performance here. A little bit of a banana skin game for me. The Newcastle Knights, obviously not attacking very well. It's well publicized. They're on a massive losing skid at the moment. Do they have their bounce back game this week? Dylan Lucas comes back into the lineup. The last time they did win was with Dylan Lucas in their lineup. The Warriors, they have Chance Nickel-Klokstad, Rocco Berry coming back into the lineup as well. Your thoughts on this game, bro?
Yeah, I think if you guys just play the same way everyone's been playing with the Knights, is just patient and just knowing that the cracks will come from the errors that they make, and hopefully you guys will want to rewrite getting your Anzac Day game at home last year and blowing it, losing that to a weak Titans team. Hopefully you guys really want to turn that around this year and really cherish that moment, that atmosphere. So I'm going to roll with you guys in this one. But I am waiting for the tide to turn with the Knights, and I'm just hoping that it's not this week for you guys. So I will go Wars 1-12.
100%. I'm always hesitant with whatever side comes in with a guy like KP at fullback against the Brisbane Broncos, against the Warriors. Obviously, they've been not that great attacking wise, but there will be a time where they will bounce. I'm sure it will come. I'm just hoping it's not this weekend, but I'm going Warriors 1-12 as well. Hopefully we can kick that little bit of that Anzac curse. It would be nice to see with the Warriors and continue to make me smile week in, week out, which I'd love to see. Top 4 Warriors, baby.
Hopefully, brother. Hopefully.
Moving over to the Melbourne Storm versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs at Amy Park in Melbourne. No Jack Howard due to the dislocated shoulder of last week. No update on how bad that ended up being for him as well, right? And Tui Kamikamica out as well. Lockie Hubner is out for the Rabbitohs. I did see Nelson named there, but he's named in the reserve, so maybe he could be a late return as well. Your thoughts on this game here? Do Melbourne bounce back, and by how much?
Yeah, Nick Meaney back in as well. Still no Harry Grant, obviously. I don't know. This one's a bit of a bogey one because Latrell back to fullback, you know that the Rabbits going to have a lot of points in them, and that's a bit of a knock on Jai Gray, unfortunately. As soon as he fell off the top of the Daily M there, he's now lost his fullback spot. But for points, if the Rabbits want points, and I guess after a 32-0 game, they're going to be chasing points hard, Latrell at fullback is the way to go. I expect this one to be a very high-scoring game. But I am going to go Melbourne to really bounce back on their defense and get the win here. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Rabbits come out and still score a good 24 points or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really entertaining game. I think the Rabbits, from memory, whenever they go down to Melbourne, especially with Latrell Mitchell in the lineup, usually it's a very good contest overall. But I'm going Melbourne to bounce back, and I think Melbourne can push this to a 13-pluser. But as you said, I think it could be a high-scoring game on both ends, depending on how Melbourne's defense turn out. Still no Harry Grant in the lineup. He's out for like another 4 to 5 weeks overall. So I'm going Melbourne 13+ as well. Moving over to the Cowboys versus the Gold Coast Titans at Queensland Country Bank Stadium in Townsville. The Gold Coast Titans, obviously a disappointing loss over the weekend. The Cowboys coming off of a bye. Alofiana Khan Pereira comes into the lineup. Dave Fafita as well has been named in the interchange as well. The Cowboys pretty much top to bottom from the side from the week before as well. So your thoughts on this game, bro? Who have you got?
Well, what do you make of the David Fafita situation? It started off as a hamstring injury. 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, guess what? Now he's back. There's no injury.
I honestly can't have any gauge because from the start of the season they've moved him from the bench. He did look unfit. He did look unhappy in moments, and then we've had this little injury, whatever's happened, whether he got dropped for whatever happening at training, maybe I'm not too sure. But it's kind of, there's a lot of things that we could be reading into with the Dave Fafita situation, especially from the start of this year. He's not having his greatest year at the moment in the Gold Coast Titans jersey, so I'd probably say there's something going on in the behind the scenes for me anyway.
It must be, especially because after his first good week for the year, and everybody started to be like, yeah, here we go, David Fafita, super coach. And now they pull this shit to the point where he's on the bench. I don't know if he'll be a late start, but I don't know. But in this game, without Campbell still, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Cowboys 13 plus.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think like the Cowboys attacking wise, they've kind of found their niche at the moment. Players like Jackson Purdue playing off the back of, Scotty Drinkwater and that. I think they're going to cause a little bit of havoc for the Gold Coast Titans. Khan Pereira is definitely a great in, so it's going to be a great entertaining game. But Cowboys at home, I think the Cowboys will get it done here.
Yeah, I think so.
Moving over to the Penrith Panthers versus the Manly Seagulls at CommBank Stadium, the new Penrith Panthers home ground until their new home ground is built. No Luke Gardner, no Mitch Kenny in this game for the Penrith Panthers, unfortunately, which sucks about Mitch Kenny. I thought that he's been performing fairly well, obviously getting back injured again. Jake Trbojevic and Sipley both out for the Manly Seagulls. Brother, who have you got in this contest here?
Well, Tom Trbojevic back as well there, and number one.
He did. Yep.
That's a big point. You got to touch on that, mate.
Got to touch on that. Tommy Turbo is back and firing, ready to go. Super coaches.
For how long though? So
yeah, exactly.
Who's playing hooker? So Luke Summerton's playing hooker, and who's on the bench?
We have Brad Schneider on the bench at 14.
That is a mud. Unfortunately, he's not. When he came on at 9 the other week for the Panthers, they just looked terrible. And that's no knock on him, but like he wasn't passing off the deck. And anyway, I can't.
I think Sonny Luke's I think Sonny Luke's like dead and gone too. I have no clue what's going on with Sonny Luke.
I don't know what he did. I reckon he maybe slept with Cleary's sister or something because he's not allowed to fucking play anymore. But he showed a fair bit of talent and now he's gone. I don't understand that move. So, I reckon Manly will probably bounce back eventually, but I just don't see it this week. And Panthers are desperate to win almost every game now. So, we're going to go with the Panthers 1-12.
Yeah, this one's really tough because Tommy Turbo is kind of like, what Turbo are we going to see over the weekend? If he's back and firing, obviously Manly are going to be really tough, especially with the edge defense of the Penrith Panthers at the moment, right? Like if they're going to be attacking down that right side, which is their best side for the Seagulls right now, it could be a tough night for the Penrith Panthers. But I'm going to give faith to them, obviously bouncing back last week against the Roosters, hopefully turning it around week by week. It's definitely need a big performance here. So I'm going Penrith Panthers 1-12 as well. But I think this could be a high scoring one as well.
I think so too.
Shout out to Tom Trbojevic back in there as well. The Raiders versus the Dolphins there at Canberra. My brother, Felice Kafusi out of this matchup here. Francis Molo does feature by the looks of it. Yeah, he is named here in that front row. So very good to see. And not too many changes there with the Canberra Raiders either there, bro. Who have you got in this matchup?
It's hard to go past Canberra. I reckon the Dolphins are due to drop off, and Canberra's actually been just such a steady ship at this point. I really like Canberra's forward back and the way they're using their rotation. It's not good for Supercoach minutes, but yeah, the form that their forwards are in at the moment, and Starling and Hooker there, I can't go past them. So I'm going to go Canberra. I'm going to go 13 plus in this one too.
Marky Nichols in that 13 jersey as well. Look at the mo on that man.
Yeah, look at it.
My God. I'm going to go Canberra, just what they've showed for this year. I think, Dolphins on a big high at the moment, 2 games in a row. The Raiders on a little bit of a high at the moment too as well. But I think the Raiders have shown that they are probably a little bit more grittier than the Dolphins at the moment. So I think they can really force it out and be a 1-12 contest, this one.
1-12? Yeah, I'm going 13 plus.
Oh, you going big, baby. Go big, go home. Moving over to the last game of the weekend, we got the West Tigers versus the Cronulla Sharks at Leichhardt. If the Tigers, can they bounce back at their home ground at Leichhardt here? Toby Rudolph out of this matchup here. I would say that Tapua fits into the bench there. Yep, takes over his spot. And with the West Tigers, the big one that we all want to touch on, obviously, Lockie Galvin back in that 6 jersey, brother. Does that change everything for you with the Tigers coming into this game, or do you think the Sharkies just being too strong, find their mojo again?
No, the Sharkies will still get it done in this one, I believe. Like, Lockie Galvin's a great attacking weapon, but obviously the chemistry is going to be off there. It's going to be a battle for the ball. There's going to be a lot of blow-ups on the field between Lua and Galvin. I don't see how they can bury the hatchet that quickly. So you're going to probably see Coruscant not even go to Galvin a lot, and then it's just Lua going to be overplaying his hand, especially because they haven't really handled it professionally. They're kind of acted like school children, the leadership of those guys. So I don't know. I can't go to the Tigers until we see signs of them shaking it and moving past it. But right now, while it's still in the media, I'm going to go with Cronulla.
Yeah, I think the bench is going to be a big one here. You know, that Sharkies bench of Talakai, Tapua, and Thomas Hazelton, I think they're going to be really good impact. The Tigers have had some moments with Jack Bird and Royce Hunt and that, but consistently, I think that the Sharkies should be able to get this done. I think the Sharkies, I'm going to go a 13 plus here. I think that, you know, they'll probably push it out late and then probably, take the keys out of the ignition and probably coast to a victory.
And Ronaldo to finally get over the try line. Put it on.
Ooh. Put it on, baby. Put it on, guys. And that will probably do us for the games of the week, bro. Let's may as well jump over to our super coach portion of the show while we have a little bit of time. We'll move over to our Down Unders League. Top of the league at the moment, we got Liam, Eliminator, continuing to kill it week in, week out, bro. Jacob Preston that he's got there, incredible score there. With Terrell May with the captaincy, what an option that he had there, right?
Yeah, 100%. He's just, I don't know, just making the right moves. He just seems to get lucky.
He goes really well. I'm trying to find your team here, bro, so we can touch on your side just quickly.
I'm a long way down on Down Unders. I think I'm in the 8s.
There you are. No, you're right there, bro. You're right there. You're above me anyway. So 1,330 aneurysm, bro. Aneurysm. Solid performance over the weekend, bro. Captaining Payne Haas. I think the updates obviously did really well as well for you. I'm pretty sure you had. Did you have? Oh, you had Papi as vice captain. I thought you had Nathan Cleary as a vice captain at one point there, but you were thinking about Nathan Cleary and then you jumped on Payne Haas. Unfortunately, gone Payne, but either way, it worked out in your favor.
Yeah, I was all over the place with my captaincy option last week and ended up making a pretty good choice. I was never going to go Cleary just because he's burnt me. So, but yeah, ended up good with Payne Haas there. I think that last 5 minutes against you guys was really good for him. He had every second carry, so he really pumped his score up late. Other than that, yeah, pretty good performance over the weekend. I can't complain. A few more creases to iron out this week. With 3 trades, and then I'm back to just my standard 2 trades and save that boost for later. But you're not too far off there at 1260, mate. That's a really good score.
Yeah, obviously, captaincy would have been a big option there for me if I was able to go up. Not too big of a difference there, but enough to obviously make a difference as well. Other performance, Thomas Jenkins in my lineup there. Did you have Thomas Jenkins play this week? No, but 38 with 37.
I did, but he dropped out because he was my lowest scorer. So, but you also had Sandon Smith there as well. And then somebody else as well that scored lower, which was
Adam Dewey. So, shout out to Adam Dewey. Thinking that he was going to go for big scores there with the halfback jersey.
Yeah, well, who else did you have in your reserves that you didn't have selected? What did they score? Yeah, 49, 58. So you're not too far off the guys that didn't score, 49, 58, like Dylan Egan and Chippo. Like
Dylan Egan and stuff.
Yeah,
like
long
52.
So even if you could have, subbed those guys in, it's not too much more you would have got. Maybe another 40 points.
Yeah, and it's showing like at the moment trying to pick the right captain. It kind of does raise you and obviously drop you, depending how it goes. And Payne Haas ended up being a good option. But if you went Nathan Cleary this week, you would have been laughing.
Nathan Cleary or Terrell May. Yeah,
that's the other one, Terrell May, right? Terrell May had an incredible week, guys. Moving over to my trades of the week before we jump over to Brodie's side as well. I'll quickly post that up. So my trades this week at the moment. I've moved on Jaden Campbell, obviously out for a month now, what Desi Hasler has said. But then again, Desi could be lying to us, and if he does, I will pull my eye out.
Apparently he is, because Fafita and now no, look, this one looks legit. We've seen Campbell in a boot, so
Yeah.
and then you got to think about what's his kicking duties going to be like when he is back and stuff like that. And then you've also got Kieran Foran coming back soon as well. Not that Campbell would have got dropped out for him, but
No.
it just would have been interesting to see how that impacts his game. So not a bad option to trade him out for now, brother.
Yeah, Herbie Farnworth comes in, pretty much a straight swap for 700k, both there, and also close to nearly a straight swap. Siwa Wong's done so well for me. Siwa Wong, sorry, has done so well for me. He's got up to that 592k mark, able to straight swap him over there to Adam Fanor-Blake with a couple of substitutions. That's why it's so good to have a lot of dual position players. So I was able to do so. Adam Fanor-Blake's now there in my front row pairing. Tino's got down to my second row unit, but in the future, my front row is pretty much locked and loaded, and it's definitely an option for me. Adam Fanor-Blake, was my thought process is coming into Origin, he's going to be my major front row player during Origin.
100%. Terrell May is tipped to potentially make Origin, so you need that backup there that's of that English or Kiwi heritage to definitely miss out. So Ads is definitely one that's got to try up his sleeve as well. So he's definitely a worthwhile one. Interesting to see you still holding Reece Walsh there and Harry Grant in your team, even though they're injuries.
Yeah, definitely. I want to, first of all, my holding Harry Grant was probably always my plan, due to just that hooker jerseys. This year, there's not too many big standouts in that hooker jersey at the moment. So I think I can sit and just wait on my hands a little bit to see where I can move Harry Grant if I do want to move on to him, because he will be out for a long period. He'll probably only get maybe 1 or 2 games, maybe before Origin, if not that. So definitely continue to look out and just lay the land of who is out there. Connor Watts is an option, but he plays Origin as well. And he's got the buy in round 10, so I'm not going to get too much out of him. So I'm just going to see how it goes. Uppy Coruscaws of the world maybe in the future, but I think I can probably sit out with him and not get hurt too much, because hooker's not going to kill you week in, week out, in my opinion, anyway.
Especially when, they're doing the thing now where your lower scorer drops out. So if that is Sandon Smith by any means, whatever.
Exactly right. And Reece at the moment, I do want to move him on as quickly as possible. I just don't want to burn a boost right now. But it will come a point, I think next week he'll probably be the next cab off the rank, moving out of my side. He's not going to drop cash, obviously being injured. But again, that's going to be a little bit more of the lay of the land. Like, let's say KP fires again this weekend. It probably will be a straight swap to KP the Walsh, if he is looking good enough. But that's Origin affected as well. But I'm willing to take a hit on losing a fullback this week and bring in like Herbie Farnworth and Adam Fanor-Blake to hold in a little bit of my points gain for this weekend.
Yeah, they're just guys that are going to base you really well. And then if they have their over-the-top performances like we've seen on the weekend from both of them, you're laughing.
100%, bro. 100%. So moving over to my lineup for this weekend, I've got Clint Gufferson on my vice captaincy. Actually, Brody helped me out with that a ton. We were trying to figure out who was going to be a good vice captaincy option coming into this week. I think Clint Gufferson, because I got Ryan Papenhuyzen as my captain, I think he's probably my best option. I am thinking about maybe I could go Cam Munster as my captain too for a little like pod play, because I think a lot of people will be looking at Parpy or something like that. Yeah. But with Nick Meaney back in the lineup, I am kind of worried as well of how many points gets taken off of Ryan Papenhuyzen with the goal kicking leaving his side as well.
Yeah, look, that's a risky one there, but you also got to take into consideration as we worked out the loop and who you're going to be able to trade in to do the loop. Sorry, swap in, not trade in to do the loop. So it's about having that game early, which you are with Gutho. I think is the first game on Anzac Day. And then you got Papenhuyzen is the last game on Anzac Day. So you got those options there before your likes of Hubner play and Walshy play. Grant. Oh, no, Walshy plays tomorrow night, sorry.
Yeah, so, Harry Grant is probably the option.
Your loop.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Also, continuing here, my wing options now I've got my sturdy places in Valentine Holmes, Herbie Farnworth, Greg Marju, incredible performance last week, which we love to see. I got Jackson Purdue playing this week. We touched on the game, what we're thinking about it. I think Purdue is going to have a really solid performance against Gold Coast. So I am going to hold on to him, and hopefully he continues to up that. I think 130 before the bye.
131.
121 before the bye. So only onwards and upwards for him, and he could definitely move on to a more consistent gun as well for the future. So I'm happy to have him there.
Yeah, 100%, brother. And, Horadi's going to make some more cash on the bench. Hopefully Jenkins does as well. So not bad options there.
Sweet. Moving over to that 5'8 jersey, we got Cam Munster. And due to obviously the mixing and matching, I pushed out Jaden Campbell, obviously, with the trade for Herbie Farnworth. Adam Dewey comes up to that 6 jersey just at the moment. A guy that's probably going to plug away at like 40s or 50s. But we discussed that number 6 jersey is just at the moment. It's really tough to really go anyone else at the moment.
It is, brother. Especially, it's just better to hold that dual option there and use that to your advantage, which you have been doing nicely.
Sweet, bro. Moving over to the halfbacks. I'm still locked in with Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines, but Nico Hines definitely a guy that's catching a lot of people's eyes of what we're going to do if he doesn't continue to push out them scores that we are so used to in the past.
Yeah, the only reason, as me and Ash have touched on already with Hines, is if it wasn't for Origin lurking and the fact that we know that Hines isn't going to make Origin, we would have traded him out by now. But again, there hasn't been too many better options. Mitch Moses is one that I've got my eyes on now, but he will probably play Origin. So that might be a player that I make after Origin is a Hines for like a Moses for the run home or something, unless Hines kicks into gear around that Origin period, which he has done before.
Yeah. 100%. And we're definitely hoping that does happen. Moving to my second row unit, Ola Kawatu didn't have his greatest performance last week. I do want to see a jump in that performance there. Tino Fa'asul-Malaawi, we know what he can produce. And Viliami Kikau there as well. Very happy with that. Corey Horsburgh, Dylan Egan, and Hubner being in the reserves there. Obviously, Hubner is out this week with the injury.
Do you mean to be leaving Horsburgh off your reserves for Jenkins?
I am contemplating whatever I'm doing here, whether I'm going to go Tom Jenkins into reserve or I'm going to go Corey Horsburgh. I think the safe option is probably Corey Horsburgh. I think I must have left that there just for when I was doing my trade around. So I might do that now. But I was thinking about maybe having a Jenkins or a Toya, depending on how those games play out, right?
Yeah, I have thought about that as well. But just with Turbo back, I don't know if Manly go to another level. I just don't know.
Yeah, definitely a good thing to think about. That could change for me.
I'll let you figure that one out, brother. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news.
We'll have to see how that plays out, but I'll definitely be thinking about that more coming into this weekend here. I'm just worried about Corey Horsburgh's minutes, even though he scored well for last week. They're on the decline. Yeah, it does suck to see that. Payne Haas, Terrell May, Adam Fanua Blake sitting there in my front row. Shout out to Vlaimonga, just building cash. And hooker, obviously, Sanders Smith and Harry Grant out with injury, so not reserving him this week.
Beautiful, brother. I like it. Solid team.
Beautiful. All right, jump back to the screen while I get your team up. But any questions in the chat?
Yeah, I'll fire away at Hosier. Just Hosier, I love the upgrade of Big Red to Hudson, but he's going to keep going up in price, Hudson, with the performances he's been dishing, but just be careful of Origin. So just make sure you've got backup for Origin as well. And then Karaz, brother, I'm glad he was great for you. I told you, me and Ash did say that Karaz is a super coach gun. So to get him into your squad last week and really benefit last week's performance, good on you, brother. And hold on to Ponga for now, brother, but definitely look to maybe trade him out for that Origin period if he gets selected, which I think he will.
All right, jumping back over to your team here, bro. So I forgot to touch on the season rank for me. At the moment, I'm at 15,000 and something. You're at 14,000 on the nose. So great to see both our teams in that top 20,000 upper echelon sort of thing. If we do want to be top 10, top 5, so, that will come later on. But good little season rank at the moment, which is great to see.
Yeah, big jump up there for the rank. Hamoli for Presto, good or bad? Look, I think both these guys are probably fighting for an Origin jersey, in all honesty, Hosier, because Hamole missed out last year to be 18th man, 19th man. But, he hasn't been in the best of form this year. He's been in good form, sorry, I can't say that. But Presto probably been in better form. I don't know with this one, brother. I think yes.
I'm going to see your run coming up just in case, but even though you guys are going to compete
next week.
Oh,
so juicy. Look, Presto is a workhorse as well. So I can't touch on this, but with Tommy back, maybe Homole, because I don't know if that's going to be a good or bad thing for him, because now they're going to go to Tommy at the back more and he's going to get less ball.
Yeah, it could go two different ways, right? In my head, it envisions like with Tommy out back, do they sit off of Olakawatu and move out to Tommy, or do they move out to Tommy, move out to Olakawatu and give Tommy space? So that's really the option. You're in a tough little spot because I'm holding Olaquatu. I don't really have a choice in a way. Like in my eyes, I got to hold on to him. He's got a bit of cash, and I think that he can bounce back from that performance of last week.
Yeah,
but he has had a couple of down weeks, so that I see why he's trading out.
If you don't have too many Melbourne players, brother, look at Eli Katoa.
Yeah.
Or a Britton Nicola. He's going at a cheap price. But I don't want to give you too much advice on that one, brother, because that's a tough one. All four of those guys that I just named are good players. But Origin lurks.
You got Isaiah Yo looking at Origin, like other options. Siwa Wong, I'm moving on, but Toby Couchman's a duel, but I don't think you could just hold Toby Couchman there. Yeah. Angus Crichton back off injury. Probably wait a week to see how Angus Crichton looks.
He's probably got Origin. You've already got Ellie, so that's a tough one. Yeah, Angus Crichton's probably got Origin. Probably a Britton Nicola, I think. Sharks have got a pretty easy run, and they got the Tigers this week. I reckon a Britton Nicola is nice. I think he's bottomed out in price, and you should start to see some cash gen from him if you wanted to go that route. Jose.
It's either that or we were touching on Dylan Lucas. If you haven't got Dylan Lucas, Jose, maybe that could be an option as well. I know Newcastle
increase.
Yeah, I know Newcastle is struggling attacking wise, but he might be a little bit of an option because he's the only one that shows a little bit of potential at the moment with that Newcastle night side.
So decision to make there, brother. We rattle our brains every day at work. I'll see Ash 3 times a day, and I'll be like, "Bro, what do you think of this?" Like, we just talk Supercoach all day. So
yeah, it's great. It's great. We get paid to talk Supercoach all day. It's great. All right, moving over to your trades of the week, brother. So Reece Walsh out, Herbie Farnworth in, Billy Smith in for Shibasaki, and McLean out for Jacob Carraz. All good trades there. Very, very viable. Carraz, Farnworth, both guns. Billy Smith is going to be cash incoming, and good to see him getting that center jersey. Nwanga Tuase going to the wing, so you're not too worried about that position at the moment.
Yeah, look, Case McLean's done his job for me. He's made a lot of money. I'm a little bit iffy on when Toto comes back on what's going to happen there, whether they run Jenkins over McLean or McLean goes to a wing, stays at center, and Toto goes to the wing. So I'm a little bit iffy there. But yeah, just upgrading to my guns here. So Carraz and Farnworth are both going to be season-long holders here for me. And Billy Smith, well, he's been killing it, so he could be a potential season-long holder. If not, he's going to make some good cash next week for me.
100%. All right, Herbie Farnworth in that flex position due to that trade with the Reece Walsh. Ryan Papenhausen with the captaincy. Clint Gufferson sitting there in your reserves as a fullback. I see you got Jacob Carraz as a vice captain as well. I like that quite a bit. So your thoughts there?
Yeah. I just needed a vice captain loop early. I don't think I've got anybody that's not playing. I've got Lockie Hubner that's not playing. But the Rabbits play before Melbourne tomorrow.
Yep.
And before the Dragons, I think. I don't know. I can't remember my thinking there, but I needed to go a captain early. So what better way to early without, if I'm caught up tomorrow and miss between games, if I couldn't do the loop properly. So I just wanted my vice captain to be playing Thursday night just to really see, and then I can think about if I wanted to do the loop or not, or just let it ride on Pappy as captain. I might even change that throughout the week and go a Terrell May captain or something like that if I wanted to play it safe. But I think Pappy will be in for a big game on Anzac Day, and Mel will be really fired up. But Carraz, I think we'll have a really good game. I think we'll have a really solid performance there at Suncorp, and he's due for a try as well. These have been scores without a try for Jacob Carraz, so yeah, we'll see what happens when he gets a try.
Yeah, incredible little performance there that he had over the weekend. I think the only thing that added to his score there was a try assist if you end up getting that one. And everything else is just all base. So shout out to Jacob Carraz, incredible. Herbie Farnworth, the plan for him at the moment, he definitely won't be staying in your flex for long term. You'll probably be moving him to your center wing and probably getting another fullback there from memory of your thoughts.
Yeah, Once next week rolls around, I'm going to probably move out either Jenkins or Tamale, depending on their roles going forward. Or actually, it's either Hiroti, Tamale, Jenkins, Toya. It's one of those 4 guys that I can look to move on to move Herbie into that center role. But I'm not stressed or rushed about that, especially if Hiroti's job security is pretty secure. I'm going to roll with that. And then, yeah, either look for another fullback or if not, a Mitch Moses there until the origin period.
100%, bro. I love your center wing setup here. Obviously, Jacob Carraz and Marju both known for their base stat killers. BRODIE, obviously, very, very good for the Sharkies at the moment. He's going to get a couple of weeks now, I'm pretty sure, last time I heard. So next week, definitely. This week coming, and maybe next week, definitely. Ero is back. So,
round 9, round 10. So we'll see what they do there if they push him. And then I'm still hoping that BRODIE gets the wing spot over Stone Street, but we'll see what happens there.
100%. Moving over to your number 6 jersey as well. You got Cam Munster and Lockie Galvin, the man that come back. You ain't got to worry about your headaches just yet. But your thoughts on Lockie Galvin
there? Yeah, look, I held him last week because I had this thought in the back of my mind that something like this would happen. Also, I just didn't have the need to trade him out. I didn't like the 5'8" options. So now it's paying well that I held on to him. So now he can just still cruise along there in my 6th position.
100%. So hopefully it goes well again this weekend for you, and continues to look good in that 6 jersey. Moving to your halfbacks, as we touched on before, Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines. You're in the same position as probably majority of super coaches right now.
Yeah, I think that's your stock standard halves at this stage.
Yeah, the only other guy you could be thinking of, I see a couple of people with Isaiah Katoa. He's the only other half that I'm kind of like, you got Ches and stuff like that, but I think Isaiah Katoa is the only other guy that a lot of people are putting on. But
yeah, risky.
The second row unit, you got Viliami Kikau, we got Corey Horsburgh, Big Red, and Matty Nicholson. On your bench, you got Thomas Kahn, Egan, and Hubner. Your thoughts on your second unit there? Obviously, Horsburgh, a little bit of a cut for minutes. I know we were talking about it at work, a bit of a worry there. He's probably going to be moving on shortly for us.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that he has a good game this week. And yeah, he was almost a move out for me to have Dylan Lucas in and then buy a week on Carraz. But I did that last week and I missed out on a good score from Carraz. So I've just pulled the trigger on wanting Carraz this week. I have a little bit of doubt about Dylan Lucas, so I've held off. But next week, it's probably going to be Horsburgh up front and bringing in ads for me. And if Nichols only has 2 runs again this game, I'll be looking at potentially moving him on as well. And then Thomas Kahn, obviously now going to the bench. I'm going to look to move him on as well before he drops too much cash.
Cash Gen, guys. Cash Gen 101. Moving up to the front row position, we got Payne Haas, Terrell May, Tino Faisal Malawi, and Dimitri Vaimwanga. Not sitting in reserves there, but that is the consistent top front row, guys that we've got right now. Yeah,
100%, brother. I just need to strengthen up that back row. Like Nicholson's got ability to go high, but only 3 runs last week. I don't know what was going on there. So 43 points just on basically tackles. So hopefully he gets his attack going again this week. And if not, it'll be time to probably move him on before potentially moving Horsburgh on.
And you don't have to deal with the Harry Grant headache either. Blake Brayley sitting there, 83 points over the weekend. Great performance for him. And he's been pretty sturdy for you to start the season, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, he's been consistent, put it that way. A couple of 40s, couple of 60s, and now a couple of try assists and really banking up to where he needs to be. So happy with that. Like you said, like you've touched on, Hooker's not really doing too well anyway. But yeah, I'm really setting up for another big week next week. I'll probably only use the 2 trades next week, but I've got 286 sitting there waiting.
Yeah, that is big cash right there, all waiting to go. So fullback could be a position you go to if you push Herbie around. There's many different positions you could be looking at. Corey Horsburgh, as you said before, you can do so much move with 286K. So very, very nice. Any other questions, guys, that you have coming into this weekend? Anything you want to touch on more so before you jump off to, brother?
Nah, brother, that's it for me. Me. It's
been
a stressful couple of weeks trying to get the team right. But yeah, it's coming together nicely and just a couple more tweaks to go. So I'll probably even leave Herbie in that flex position. I really need to put a bit of work on my back row at this stage.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those years in Supercoach that it's kind of going many different ways that we didn't expect. Like to start the year, I didn't expect front row to be probably one of the major scorers, like positions. As we all know, Supercoach in years past, it hasn't been since like 2010s, 2011s, 2013s before front rows and that being top scorers. But now at the moment, Payne Haas, Terrell May, if you miss the boat on any of those guys, you'd be lacking behind hard.
Well, 100%. And it's just really running the effect of back rowers not scoring too well or centers not running too well. It's it's all in the front row at this point. It's just you're getting rewarded for just tackles and run meters. So crazy.
No way Jose's got Fogarty and Metcalf, but Metcalf and Fogarty have been real nice for me.
Brother, you can't complain, I guess. Fogarty has been consistent. He hasn't got any hundreds, but he's probably just been chipping away at 70s. And then Metcalf, well, yeah, 1 game on, 1 game off. But yeah, it works for you, brother. It works for you.
100%. I'm pretty sure he's up the top of our comp at the moment. Not top, but like he's around about the top. So Jose, so he's still doing great with things at the top there.
Yeah, 100%. You don't need to follow the pack.
And I traded Sanders Smith for a Brayley, Jose, as well.
Smart. I think that's a good move.
Jazzy, before we go, Powerball numbers this week: 11, 12, 7, 43. Any more numbers you want to add to that?
16.
69. Dinner for 2. All right, guys, that will probably end us off for the show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the weekend of footy. As he said, no show tomorrow night. Me and Brody will be cheering on the Doggies over the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium. So if any of you guys are going to the game, who knows, any Doggies fans or anything in the chat, come say hello if you just want to, if you see us out there. But anything more you want to add before we jet off, bro?
That's it for me. Up the Doggies.
Up the wires, baby. Take it easy, boys. Lives.